Good morning again, and guess what? Yeah, I'm in my hat. So you know what I'm going to be doing. I'm going outside and I'm going to be working on my garden. So guess what? My husband's going to help me. See, yesterday he was doing a seminar, so kind of was on my own. But today, I'm going to have a little bit of help for a couple hours, so that's going to make it a lot easier. And I did want to tell you folks to see, I'm not going to be planting any like large vegetables or anything like that. I'm doing a great big garden because we're probably not going to be here. So what's the purpose, right? But I still need to take care of all my gardens around my house, and the one behind my house is where I always had my herbs. And I probably still will do those because realistically, hey, they could be fully mature where I can go ahead and cut those on down and get some nice herbs before we leave here. So anyways, hope you guys are going to have a great day, and I'll talk to you in a little while. That was an awesome amount of work done in just a little over 2 hours. What a difference it makes when my husband's out there with me. But we were actually able to get the one side of the house done, the front of the one part of the house, and then the main garden in the front done. And we still have to mulch and that, but wow. But anyways, got a lot of that accomplished. I just need to get the one side over here, and then, well, we'll kind of have to go through and just clean things up a little bit, but the bulk of it is all cleaned up. Praise the Lord for that. Anyways, making my husband some dinner. I am cooking him some Italian sausage. I'm going to make him a baked potato, and I'll probably try to find some vegetables somewhere, frozen or canned or otherwise. And I'll talk to you in a little bit. I thought maybe you would like to see what I've accomplished. Actually, what my husband and I have accomplished. And we started here, and it went that way. This is what is this? East side of the house. And we came along here. And then we're coming up to the north side of the house, because our house faces north. And we did all of this. And then we came around here. Doing all of that. And then we did all of this. And this is probably about 16 feet deep, this particular garden here. And it comes along to the side here. But yeah, that's what we did. I just wanted to show you the front of the house, the whole front, and to give you an idea of the amount of footage that we actually had to weed. The house from that end to that end is 60 feet, just in the front. The garden there on that side is 16 feet in depth. The gardens here, that one there is about 4 feet. That one there is about 3 feet, where the one off to the side that I said was on the east, that's only a couple feet. Now this is the gardens we still need to do. This garden is actually on the east side of the frontage of our property. Our house sits to one side of the property. It doesn't sit in the center. And so the front of our house here is still, that's all woods back there. And what we did to try to separate the woods from coming into the grass here is we made this garden. So you can kind of see some dead wood back in here. That's kind of the border of where beyond that way would be the woods. This section would be garden. So all of this is garden. And it is also where so many pets are buried. We have our first dog, Tila. We have Smokey, a cat. We have Miss Kitty, a cat. We have my Maxwell. We have our goat, Louie.
and we have a friend's dog buried here. So yeah, the garden's kind of turned into a bit of a pet cemetery. But I just wanted to show you, all this still needs to be done. All this still needs to be raked out, and it all needs to be done. And it goes all the way down to the end of our driveway. It just kind of borders the property around there. So this still all needs to be done. And yeah, this is still a mess. Haven't gotten to this. This is the west side, on the side of our deck here. So yeah, still need to get all that cleaned up. And then we still need to get all around the shed. See a lot of things coming up. Still have a winter shovel out here. All these need to be cleaned out. And this is the area, actually. I don't think it's going to really show up. But that there is about 10 feet by 30 feet, even though it probably doesn't look like it. That's about what it is. It might even be more than that. Maybe not. Maybe it's about 10 feet by 20 feet. But that's where I will put all of my herbs. And that's just kind of my little section that I will just plant. Lots of herbs, and as you can see, I use a lot of containers because bunny rabbits like herbs too. So, and I have more containers. And what I do is then I'll plant flowers in between just to make it look pretty. Yeah, I know, I'm a bit of a fruit girl. But then I'll plant more all in here. And this is the section that I was doing yesterday. That was all back in here. So that's kind of what I'll be doing, is planting my herbs still back in here and getting out the rest of my containers. And I'm going to have to get some more dirt. Oh, it's bright out here. And if you remember, I was telling you that I was concerned about some of the plants back in the end of February because it just got so warm here, starting to come up, that they would freeze and they would die. Well, the only thing that died was actually a lilac bush that I had purchased last year, and it was only like maybe a foot tall, and it didn't make it. I think it started to bloom because it was on the south side. My other lilac bush is in the front. That's like 10 years old, well established, and it didn't affect that at all. But yeah, it did kill that.
Forgive the clutter in the background. Haven't gotten to anything because I was outside doing that, but I wanted to show you something. This is what I'm finding all over the floor. This is tufted hair, and these are the type of hairs that I find this time of year all over the house. This is how Mindy Lou, my Sheltie, sheds. Now, Missy, the black and white one, she sheds with, like, you know, little hairs everywhere. And that just, I mean, it's on your pants, it's on your bed, I mean, it's everywhere. Even though Mindy has that long hair, she does not shed that way. It comes out in clumps. And that's what I like about her when it comes to shedding, because I can just go around and pick them up. Actually, what this indicates is I need to brush her really good, and then I need to give her a bath, because that actually, the massaging of the bath will actually help release that undercoat from the winter, and then she can grow her summer coat. So I'm gonna have to do that in the next few days, because when I see these, I know that it's time for her to be taken care of. Talk to you after a bit. Yesterday, I happened to mention a little bit about Martin Luther and how he thought that Romans was one of the most important documents in the New Testament, and that he thought everybody should even memorize it. I thought that was just absolutely amazing, that would be a lot of memorization. I can barely remember my kids' phone numbers, to be honest with you. Wow. But I decided that we'd read on into Romans just a little bit, and today I'm going to read verses 1 and 2 of Romans chapter 1. Paul, a bondservant of Jesus Christ, called to be an apostle, separated to the gospel of God, which he promised before through his prophets in the Holy Scriptures. You know, when a person writes a letter today, they begin with the name that the letter is addressed to. Then their own name is at the very end of the letter. So unless the sender's name is on the envelope or they've used paper with a letterhead, we're going to have to glance at the end of the letter to know who the writer is. But in Paul's day, a writer would identify themselves in the first sentence. And perhaps that might be just a more efficient system, actually. But I want you to notice that Paul did not call himself Christ's helper. He says, Paul, a bondservant of Jesus Christ. Which, if he would have used the word helper, would have implied a higher servant. But the actual Greek word here means bond slave. Paul was Christ's purchased possession, bought with the Lord's blood, and he had willingly surrendered himself, body and soul, to the Savior. I like how he says he is separated to the gospel of God. Unfortunately, you know, we tend to think of separation in a negative way, as a principle that cuts us off from the ungodly yet attractive world around us. We think of it as something that stands in the way of our enjoyment. But this isn't the sort of separation Paul is talking about here. He says he was set apart for the gospel, not set apart from the world. He had great joy in serving Christ. Now, don't misunderstand me. The Bible does say that we are to be separate, but that is not what my point is here today. Because the separate that Paul was set apart for the gospel is what he is speaking about. He's not a set apart from it. He's set apart for the gospel. Think of it like this. A man who is happily married is set apart for his wife. And he's not longing for freedom from her. So think of it that way. Because Paul was set apart for the gospel. And the gospel means good news. But the gospel wasn't wholly new. God had prepared the world to receive it by promising it through the Old Testament prophets, as we saw in verse 2. Which he promised before through the prophets in the Holy Scriptures. Christianity is built squarely on the foundation of the Hebrew Scriptures. Paul never classified the Old Testament as obsolete, and neither should we. So with that, I want to remind you, life happens. Let's enjoy it. And please remember to click like if you enjoyed this video and leave a comment. I really enjoy reading your comments. And you can also click the little bell, which will give you notifications when I post a new video. And it would be my pleasure if you could share this video and any of my videos with your friends, either through Facebook or through Twitter or through email or whatever form you'd like to use. And I just would really appreciate that. I'd like to see the channel grow. And I thank you so much for watching. God bless. And I'll talk to you tomorrow.